Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Lynn Matajan from Matajan's Herbals, and I am going to talk tonight about raising chickens. So I'm back at Kara's house where we did our llamas ritual, and we're going to look at her 2 chicken yards. So I'm going to flip this screen so you can see the chicken yards, and you're just going to hear my voice. The people that you'll see today are Kara, my daughter, and Robin, my grandchild. So welcome, and this is going to be fun. And there we go. So first thing you need to do when you decide you want chickens is to check your city ordinances. Do you live in the city? Do you live in an unincorporated area? In Everett, there's Kara. In Everett, you can have 6 hens and no roosters. In unincorporated areas, you can have basically unlimited. But if you live in the city and you live in an HOA, homeowners association, that can be a problem because they can say absolutely no chickens whatsoever. It is so know what you can get, because chickens are noisy, and if your HOA wanders around your neighborhood, or if your neighbors are not not happy with your noise of the noisy chickens, that could be a problem. Okay, so the next thing, once you've checked your city ordinances, you want to check your yard. How big is it? Do you have a garden? Do you have predators? If you have predators, that would be opossums, that could be coyotes, it could be raccoons. That helps you decide how you need to set your setup. So Kara has got 2 different chicken yards. She's got this one where she built this chicken coop, and then she has one over here where she has a store-bought chicken coop, and we're going to go look at that a little bit in just a little bit to see the differences and the positives and negatives of both kinds. If you have a garden, the chickens are going to eat your garden. And so you have to either fence in the chickens or you have to fence in the garden. One or the other. Otherwise, you'll either not have chickens because you get mad at them, or you will not have a garden because the chickens ate them. Now, the second thing you need to look at is what kind of chickens do you want? Layers are the chickens that obviously lay eggs. It takes about 6 months to get eggs from brand new baby chicks. Meat chickens are 3 months before they're of a size that you can butcher them. Now, if you live in the city and you can have 6 hens, that's not going to get you very many dinners, but it will give you a lot of eggs. It'll give you 6 eggs a day by the time they start getting well into the laying eggs system. And 6 eggs a day, that's, unless you've got a really big family that eats eggs every single day, that's plenty of eggs for you. So you need to look at, okay, how is that going to work? I mean, when my kids were at home, 6 meat chickens would have lasted us maybe 2 months. You know, it is, and that would be having not very much chicken. So you need to be a little bit aware of what it is you're putting yourself in. When I very first started chickens back 30 years ago, I don't know what I was thinking. I got 24 chickens. I thought, that's how many we need. That'll be great. 24 chickens. That was 24 chicken eggs a day. That was way too many chickens. And I ended up selling the eggs, which wasn't a bad thing, because I had a market for them. But that was a lot of chickens, and that was a lot of eggs. Chicken math is really hard, because what you say is, oh, I have 6 chickens. Oh, look at those chickens over there. I like those. They have blue eggs. I need more chickens. And all of a sudden, your 6 chickens ends up being a whole lot more than that. So watch your chicken math. Now, when you get your baby chickens, I don't believe they are selling them in the feed stores right now because it's kind of late. But what you can do, there are warehouses that sell baby chicks, and you can get them air freighted to you if you want to start them right now. That would still be, this is August, so September, October, November, December, January. You wouldn't get eggs until January, but you would get them a whole lot faster than if you got your chickens in January. So it all depends on how you want to do it. The first chicks I got, I did get from mail order, and it went just fine. They all got to me alive. They all survived. So it's the one thing that I would look at right now, though, is with the avian flu that we had a couple of months ago. There were a lot of mail order places that closed down because of the avian flu. So I don't know what the availability is, and I do know that getting them mail order is more expensive than waiting and getting them at the feed store. So, as I had one time a nurse who came to my house, a rural visiting nurse, after she came to my house many, many times, told me, city people are really silly. Everybody knows babies belong in the house. So after I was chugging my babies in and out when she was coming because I didn't want to get in trouble for having baby animals in the house, I now know, nope, I'm not going to get in trouble. I can go ahead and have the baby animals in the house. So when you get your chicks, you want to bring them in the house because it's too cold outside, and they need to be a little bit more protected. So what you can do is get a bin. You can get them from Costco, you can get them from Kmart. Get any kind of a bin, put down pine shavings on the bottom, and you want to have a heat lamp in there because little babies need that extra heat. But you want to also be sure that you don't fry the babies because they don't make good fried chicken when they're only that big.
Chicken nuggets.
Well, there you go, chicken nuggets. It is. And then in the same thing, you want to have a water container and a food container. And you can get them that are tiny for just little chicks, especially if you've only got 6. You want to keep them in the bin until they outgrow the bin. And that probably will be a month or so. And then you have to decide where you're going to put them after that. Now, this last year, we took them into the coop, and I locked them in the coop for another month, and then I let them out of the coop and in the fenced yard for the chicken yard. And I came home one day to find out that all my chickens were missing. And Kara went and got some more chickens for me, and then she says to me, Mom, we've got a problem. Apparently, my chickens I keep in a dog run, so it's like a 10 by 10 dog run, and the chain link of the dog run was big enough that the baby chicks were walking right out of the fence and wandering all through the yard and taking vacation. And when she got back with the new baby chicks, I was off doing ritual someplace, and the baby chicks had come back home. So it's important that you look at the size of the fencing before you let your chicks roam free, because otherwise they can walk right out of the fence that you've got in there. So we want to look at the coops. And I think we're going to go ahead and start at the coop that is the store-bought coop. Okay, how do we... Oh, okay, I have not been in her chicken yard before. Okay, so this is the chicken coop. Now, this yard she just got, and it came with the white, the ceiling here. Now, she ended up getting the second tarp to put over it because of the avian flu. The avian flu is transmitted by flying waterfowl. So the geese that migrate, as they migrate, they they poop in as they're going, and if it gets anywhere near your chickens, the chickens are going to catch the avian flu. So this was put up to make sure that her chickens did fine. Okay, now this closes, so she doesn't have any problems with predators. In this area, she's had coyotes, she's had dogs, and she's had cats, and she's had raccoons and opossums, and nobody has gotten in here. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now, chickens need a roost, a place to roost, because what they do is they sleep up high. They don't sleep on the ground. So in this one, the roosts are down low, but they're still up off the ground. And you want to make sure that the roosts are away from the nesting boxes, because otherwise they poop on the eggs and the eggs get really ugly. So now if you see right here, there is actually like a roof over the edge of the nesting boxes so that they can't poop on it. And here we've got some eggs. And this has an outside access to collecting the eggs, which is pretty cool. And she's got pine shavings on the bottom of hers. And you want pine shavings, or you can use straw, or you can use shredded paper. If you are using shredded paper, you need to check and make sure that they're using soy ink rather than India ink, because the India ink will make the chickens sick. Now she also has, so here's her water, and she's got her water lifted because the chickens dig holes right there. And then she's got her food here. But she also has, a hanging basket. Now, just a few minutes ago, she just put fresh lettuce from her garden into the hanging basket. Now, the chickens came and grabbed it, and it's almost gone. But they pulled it out right away. Now, you need to make sure that you keep the pine shavings or the straw clean, because you want your eggs to be clean. Helps them to be dirty. Okay, so here's another way that they do this. She brings in herbs, and she brings in scraps from her dinner, vegetable peels. There are different herbs in there, and there's also, I don't know if you can see it, but there is calcium pellets that are in there that help make the eggs stronger, the eggshells stronger. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can actually go ahead and dry the egg shells after you've eaten your eggs. Wash the membrane out and then let it dry, and then crush them and put the crushed eggshells in there, and that will do the same thing. It gives them calcium, and it allows the eggshells to be a little bit better. The other thing that you can do with the eggshells is put them in the garden, and your tomatoes will absolutely love you. So that is good. Now, in your nesting boxes, I'm going to go ahead and come out. In your nesting boxes, you can put some herbs that are going to make the chickens healthier, instead of doing a lot of medicine. If you put marjoram, nettles, fennel, parsley, those increase your egg production. If you put nasturtiums in the nesting boxes, that's a natural dewormer. And so then you don't have to worry about your chickens getting worms. Herbs for the coop floor would be peppermint to dissuade mice and rats, and it helps the coop smell a little bit better. Lavender keeps the chickens a little bit more calm, and oregano is an antibiotic. It is, so that's pretty good. What you're going to feed the chickens, there is a food that is called chick starter, and that's what you give your babies until they start to lay eggs. Once they start to lay eggs, you want to get layer crumbles or pellets. You get scratch, and you can give them microgreens. Now, we feed ours here in a metal garbage can, and so it's easy to pick up and feed the chickens, and they stay out of the weather, and they don't get moldy or anything of that nature. Anything that you have that is scrap kitchen, so leftovers, any peels or skins, that the chickens love that. You can, if you have too many eggs, and that never happens, but if you have too many eggs, you can hard scramble the eggs and give the chickens the hard scrambled eggs, and they won't recognize it as an egg, and so they're not going to say, hey, I still got more of that in the nesting box. What you want to do is just to make sure that they're getting greens if you can. Now, Kara, up until the avian flu, was allowing her chickens to free range. Now, this was also before the garden, and it is, and the chickens actually helped her weed her garden before it was time to plant, and now they're closed up so that they don't continue to weed her garden. Now, in this is the second one, and we've actually got a rooster here, and so Robin is going to go get Yandu because he is a beautiful, beautiful, is a beautiful bird, and so we're going to pull him out so you can see what a gorgeous bird he is. He is in this tire that you see right here. That's a dirt bath. Now, you need to have a dirt bath for chickens because chickens don't have any teeth. And so what happens is they need to have grit or little pebbles in their gizzard to digest the grains. And it is, so that helps them with eating all the time. This is Yandu. Now, this Yandu, I have to tell you, has a messed up inner clock and pretty much crows all day long and into the evening. He starts crowing at about 4:30 in the morning, and Kara has the most amazing neighbors that have never complained, but he's very pretty. I don't remember. Do you remember what kind of chicken he is?
No.
Kara's got what you would basically call farm run. When she first got these chickens, the place where we got them, when they unpacked the chickens, they weren't thinking, I guess maybe new people, and they put all of the chickens in the same run area, in the same bin. And once they got them all in the same bin, they realized we don't know what they are because we didn't take notes. And so she got them for a steal of a deal because they needed to get rid of those so they could bring in the other chickens that they could identify what they were. So these are all farm run. They're all a variety. She's probably got about 10 different varieties of chickens here.
Now, roosters can be nasty, but he has been handled every single day since we brought him home, and that is why we can actually hold him. But you do have to watch out for them because they can attack.
He's also harness trained.
And he is harness trained.
Which is not common.
No.
It is, but I think that, roosters can be territorial.
And protective.
And if you are, I had a rooster back when I had the 24 chickens, and he would attack each one of the kids when they went to feed the chickens. And so I went in there one time with a big 5-gallon bucket filled with food, and when he came after me, I wound that bucket upside down and around, and the centrifugal force actually kept all of the food inside. So I hit that rooster, with the bucket. He flew about 16 feet, stood up and just shook his head and just looked at me, and everybody was golden. Anybody could go into that chicken yard after that as long as they were carrying a white bucket, because he knew that white bucket hit hard, and he stopped being mean. So now in your dirt bath, which we started about talking about because of the gizzard and being able to eat the grains, it also, the dust bath, keeps the chickens clean. Sort of counterintuitive. Oh, good, you're letting them play in the dirt and they're going to be clean. But that's what it does. And if you put some diatomaceous earth in there, and if you put some other herbs in there, it's going to keep the chickens free of mites, lice, and parasites. Now, one of the coolest things that you can put in there is fireplace ash. And it is because the fireplace ash contains vitamins K, calcium, and magnesium. The charcoal absorbs toxins and is a natural laxative. And then the DTE and the diatomaceous earth and the herbs, again, help with the parasites and the lice. You have to make sure that you are using fireplace ash and not barbecue ash, because you don't want charcoal briquettes in there. It needs to be charcoal that comes from burnt wood. So,
Show them the inside of this one.
yeah, we're going to show you the inside. This is the one that Kara built. Now, she put a Dutch door on here, which is, I think, very cool. And if you look inside, got it there? She's got the roosts up here on top. There's one over here and one over here. On the floor, she's got the nesting boxes. Now, the roosts are set to the side of the nesting box, so when the chickens poop, it goes straight away from the nesting boxes. Now, the reason you want nesting boxes really clean and you want to keep the poop off of them is the way that you store the eggs. And there's some more eggs. And see there, see how clean they are? Those are beautiful eggs. It is, and what you want to do is, I can't get this one.
I'll get it.
Okay, good.
You gotta lift up.
Okay, so storing eggs, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But if you don't wash the eggs, you can store them on your kitchen counter, because the eggs are born with something called bloom on it. Now, it's nothing that you can see, but it seals the eggs. If you wash the eggs, you wash that seal off, and then you have to put them right in your refrigerator right away. It is, and they don't last as long if they don't have the bloom. So those are things that you want to do. So, as we said, basically from the pullets, from the hens, you're going to get your eggs starting in about 6 months. You want to gather your eggs daily. If you don't, there's a couple things that happen. One is you're not sure how old the eggs are. 2 is the chickens will start eating their own eggs if they're left in the nesting box. Or one of the chickens will get broody and want to sit on them and hatch them into new baby chicks. And if you want new baby chicks, that's great. If you're not ready for new baby chicks, that's not so great. Now, in order to tell how old the eggs are, there's a float test. So you should do this even with your grocery store eggs, because it's kind of a fun thing to do. You fill a bowl full of water and you put your fresh eggs, or not so fresh, depending upon, in the bowl of water. If the eggs sink all the way to the bottom, they're very fresh. If they stand up, still on the bottom, but they're standing up on end, then they're a couple of weeks old. And if they float, get rid of them. You don't want them. And you know that just by, you don't want to even open them. Just go ahead and throw them away.
Rotten eggs are gross.
Rotten eggs are gross and they smell terrible. Okay, so how do you preserve the eggs? If you are getting 6 eggs a day and you've only got 2 people in your house, you're going to have an extra amount of eggs. So, first off, if you don't wash them, you put them on the counter. Second is when you wash them, you need to refrigerate them. Other things you can do is you can actually dehydrate eggs. And so what you're going to do is cut the, open the eggs, crack them, and then use make them into scrambled eggs, only don't scramble them. So just scramble them in the bowl and then put them in your dehydrator. Now, if
on parchment paper, probably.
Parchment paper, or I actually have silicone things that are used for fruit leather or any kind of liquid, and you can put the eggs on there too, and you dehydrate them, and once they're dried, then you put them into powder. And let me tell you, that's easy to do. All you have to do is crumble them. It's predisposed to do that. Now, once you've done that, the way that you use them is you put 1 tablespoon of the egg powder to 2 tablespoons of water, and then you can make scrambled eggs, you can make quiche, you can bake with them, you can make crepes. I mean, anything that you would use a scrambled egg for, you can use these dehydrated eggs. The other thing that you can do is water glass. Now, this is not the way I water glass, but this is what I'm going to tell you, because it had the exact measurements, and that was if you have a 3-gallon food-safe plastic bucket with a lid. Now, I would use glass personally, but I don't have a 3-gallon glass, so we would have to adjust it. Then you want to use pickling lime. Pickling lime is also called slake lime or hydrated lime. You can get that at a feed and seed, or you can get that at any place that sells canning goods. And then clean water. You use 8 ounces of lime by weight for each quart of water. 7 to 8 dozen eggs will fit in a 3-gallon container. You do not want to wash the eggs. You want the bloom on the eggs, but they need to be clean of dirt. And then they will last up to 18 months. And they are just like when you pull it out. You're probably going to wash it off after you pull it out, before you crack the egg, so then you don't get a lime taste in your eggs. And they're fresh. It's the same as eating a fresh egg. So that keeps you going in this wintertime. One of the things I didn't talk about, except for as babies, is the heat lamp. The more hours of daylight the chickens have, the more they will lay eggs. And so
in the winter here, when the sun goes down at 4 o'clock, we don't have a lot of daylight hours, and so the chickens will slow down. Now, depending if you've got 6 chickens and you only have 2 people, that's not going to be an issue, especially if you've been saving the eggs from the summertime and you either water glassed them or you dehydrated them. If you don't put a heat lamp in, your chickens will last longer. They will lay longer, and you'll have them for more years than if you are force laying like some of the chicken farms do. It is, but the other part to that is we had some pretty cold weather this winter. I turn mine on when it gets freezing temperature.
And
other than that, they are perfectly fine in the winter without one.
They create their own body heat, and they actually
Huddle together.
And so which creates even more body heat. But you do want to make sure, like with any animals that you have, dogs, cats, whatever, if it's freezing outside, they're probably going to be cold. And unless you want to come home to, some chicken popsicles, you may want to consider putting the heat lamp back on during that time. And that's what I did as well. I had it on during the freezing things and then took it off right away. So that's what I've got to tell you about chickens. I'm sure that this went over 20 minutes, and it is, but I don't know. So it is, if you have any questions, put them in. If you would like to get the names of some mail order chick places, shoot me a message and I'll send you the names of a couple that I am aware of. And chickens are fun. So, and not only are they fun, it's a great source of renewable protein. And with, grocery prices being what they are, eggs are a good source of protein for your meals. So, that's what I got. If you have any ideas of what you would like for me to talk about next time, shoot me those messages too, because sometimes I get stumped on, okay, what are we going to talk about next? So thank you for joining me and Kara and Robin, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.